On the evening of September 23, 2018, the town of Mount Holly, North Carolina, lost a woman whose life had been carefully and quietly destroyed from within her own home. Stacy Hunsucker, 32 years old, mother of two, and a devoted wife, appeared to be living the picture-perfect life. But what unfolded that night would reveal a chilling reality. A death that seemed natural on the surface but was anything but. Stacy Robinson Hunsucker had grown up in Mecklenburg County, the daughter of John and Susie Robinson. She was part of a close-knit family, with two brothers and a sister, and a childhood marked by warmth, love, and ambition. After graduating from East Gaston High School, Stacy pursued higher education, earning an associate degree in paralegal studies from Gaston College. Her early career included paralegal work at multiple law firms, but Stacy eventually found her calling in teaching, nurturing young children at local preschools and the YMCA. Friends described her as endlessly creative, often making handcrafted wooden signs that she sold to raise extra income. It was during her time working at a department store that she met Joshua Lee Hunsucker, 2 years her senior. Joshua was tall, athletic, and confident, a former college football player turned flight paramedic. Stacy initially rebuffed his attention, but his persistence and shared love of sports eventually led to romance. By 2010, they were married in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Over the years, they had two daughters, Piper and Willow, and Stacy devoted herself to family life, becoming a full-time homemaker while Joshua's career in emergency medical services flourished. On the surface, they were the ideal family, but beneath the smiling photos, family gatherings, and church activities, something dark was growing. Stacy began experiencing unexplained medical problems as early as February 2013, shortly after the birth of her first daughter. Her symptoms were vague, fatigue, dizziness, dangerously low heart rate but persistent. Doctors were baffled. Then, in July of the same year, a devastating fire destroyed much of their home, leaving the family emotionally and financially reeling. Friends launched a GoFundMe campaign to help the young family, chronicling Stacy's mysterious decline, unaware that her health struggles were no accident. The problems escalated after the birth of her second daughter, Willow. In November 2014, Stacy was admitted to the hospital with critically low heart rate and blood pressure. Doctors ran countless tests but found no cause. In January 2015, she suffered cardiac arrest, forcing her onto a ventilator. By February, she was fitted with a pacemaker, a drastic measure for someone not yet 30 years old. At the time, everyone assumed she had a rare medical condition. What they didn't know was that Stacy had been systematically poisoned with tetrahydrozoline, a chemical found in over-the-counter eye drops. The poison, administered in carefully controlled doses, mimicked natural heart failure, leaving her doctors confused and the medical records suspiciously consistent with chronic illness. Joshua, with his paramedic training, had both the knowledge and access to carry out such a plan, ensuring that her decline looked like a tragic medical mystery rather than deliberate harm. On the evening of September 23, 2018, Joshua called 911, reporting that he had found Stacy unresponsive on the couch. His story about where he had been immediately prior shifted depending on who he spoke to. First outside checking the cars, then for a walk, then cutting wood, and finally sitting at the kitchen table. For different versions. For versions of the truth. Paramedics arrived to find Stacy blue and lifeless. Despite emergency care, she was pronounced dead. At first, her passing appeared natural, cardiac arrest compounded by a history of heart issues. Joshua refused an autopsy, insisting Stacy be cremated immediately, and within 2 days, she was gone. Almost immediately, he filed claims for her life insurance policies totaling $250,000. The speed of the cremation, the insurance claims, and his detached behavior raised suspicions among family and friends, but no one yet knew the extent of the danger she had faced. In the months that followed, Joshua quickly moved on with a new girlfriend, installing her into the home he had shared with Stacy. To anyone observing, it appeared as though Stacy had never existed. Expensive purchases, vacations, and the payoff of the family mortgage painted a picture of financial gain that coincided eerily with Stacy's death. The pieces began to fall into place for her mother, Susie Robinson. She realized that the timeline of Joshua's affair, the immediate insurance claims, and the unexplained medical history could not be ignored. Susie contacted the North Carolina Department of Insurance in May 2019, 9 months after Stacy's death, filing fraud allegations that would ignite a full-scale murder investigation. The investigation uncovered a crucial lifeline: a vial of Stacy's preserved blood, taken as part of her organ donor registration. Specialized toxicology testing revealed tetrahydrozolinate 30 to 40 times the therapeutic level, a deadly concentration. This chemical, safe in eye drops but lethal if ingested, explained her prolonged medical decline and sudden death. Investigators concluded it had been administered systematically, turning what looked like natural heart failure into a premeditated, calculated murder. Joshua's familiarity with medical protocols and access to substances provided the perfect opportunity. His position as a paramedic ensured he could administer poison safely, avoid detection, and manipulate symptoms to appear natural. Investigators also noted that he had made chilling comments to coworkers about using eye drops to commit murder, comments that were no idle joke in hindsight. The investigation also drew comparisons to a recent poisoning case in South Carolina, where a nurse had killed her husband using eye drops. The method, timing, and circumstances bore eerie similarities, providing insight into how Joshua had executed his plan. Once the evidence was pieced together, authorities moved swiftly. On December 19, 2019, Joshua Hunsucker was arrested for first-degree murder, along with charges of insurance fraud and obtaining property under false pretenses. Even after his arrest, his actions remained disturbing. Released on bond 5 days later, he harassed Stacy's family, staged a fake kidnapping to implicate his father-in-law, and even poisoned his own daughter to frame the family and control custody. In July 2024, he was found to have abused and neglected his children, and by November 2024, he remained in custody without bond. Stacy's story is not just one of tragedy. It is a lesson in vigilance and the hidden dangers that can lurk behind familiar faces. Her devotion as a mother, her creativity, her warmth, and her smile were stolen by someone who understood exactly how to exploit her vulnerabilities. Yet her memory endures. Her parents continue to fight for custody of her daughters, ensuring that Stacy's legacy of love and care lives on. This case also underscores the critical role of investigative rigor. Without the intuition of Susie Robinson and the foresight to preserve Stacy's blood sample, Joshua's crime could have remained a perfect murder. Insurance fraud investigators, toxicologists, and law enforcement all collaborated to uncover what appeared invisible, proof that justice can prevail even in the most calculated crimes. Stacy Hunsucker was more than a victim. She was a teacher, a mother, a devoted daughter, a friend. Her life, though cut short, left a mark on everyone who knew her. And while her murderer awaits trial, the world will remember Stacy, not for the way her life ended, but for the warmth, love, and light she shared in the years before tragedy struck. Her story is a stark reminder that evil can hide behind the most ordinary of masks, that appearances can deceive, and that sometimes the quietest homes harbor the darkest secrets. Stacy Hunsucker will not be forgotten, and the fight for justice continues, one step at a time.